How do middle managers influence outcomes without any formal authority?
In every organization, there's one group holding the whole operation together. Not the top, not the bottom, the middle. Today, three of the sharpest minds in middle management step up to the mic. Jeff Sigel, Lisa Wood, and Sally Foley-Lewis. Each brings a different lens, one shared mission. Decode what it really takes to lead from the middle with confidence, clarity, and impact. Same questions, three perspectives. Get ready for insight that cuts through the noise and goes straight to the operational heartbeat of your organization. Let's dive in.
There's this important question that always comes up with middle managers, which is that they are expected to influence without authority all the people around them. They have to influence their boss. They have to influence senior leaders. Sometimes they have to influence peers to do things. And of course, all of that on top of the influencing of the people that work for them, over which they, in theory, have authority, but is often a little bit hard to get everybody to do what they are supposed to do. So how do you influence without authority? Well, a lot of it comes down to your ability to take the perspective of the person that you're trying to influence. Do you understand what motivates them? What are they trying to accomplish? What are their goals? And if you can understand what their goals are, you can often sort of design the way you interact with them, the way you ask them for something, in a way that allows them to see how what you're asking them to do supports them. And that could look like, something that you do helps them with one of their goals, or what you're asking them to do helps them with one of your goals. That's the easiest, all the way to, they help you with your goal, and they know that in return, you're going to help them with their goal at some point. But there needs to be this understanding of the other person's perspective, that they need to, that you need to understand how to get them to see what's in it for them. I often say to people, everyone is the hero of their own story. And so if everyone is the hero of their own story, in their story, you are either a villain or a supporting character. If you want them to do what you would like them to do to help you achieve your goals, you're going to have to make sure that your role in their story is supporting character, not villain. If you're a villain, they're going to essentially ignore you, or maybe actively even sabotage what it is that you're trying to do, if they see you as a threat, or they see you as somehow getting in the way of their goals. So the key thing to be influencing people without authority is to understand their perspective, to put yourself in their shoes and see if you can understand how to get them to see how helping you is going to help them. And there will be times where you will be stuck, asking them to do something where it is very hard to figure out what it is that is in it for them. And that's the real challenge, I think, of middle management, is trying to sort of say, hey, in the long term, I'm going to help you, you help me, or this is what we're being asked to do. Can you help me, figure out how to do this in a way that also helps you?
Middle managers have the ability, like all managers, I think, to influence outcomes every day, even without formal authority or title, or even really clear determined hierarchy. I think influence for management at all levels comes from three key things: credibility, communication, and true authentic connection. So the first foundation here is trust. Quite simply, it's about doing what you say you're going to do. And when a middle manager follows through on commitments, is consistent in their behaviour, and is open and honest when things are difficult, people will rely on them. That reliability breeds confidence, and confidence creates influence. Over time, their voice carries weight, not because of their position and their role, but because people actually believe in them, they buy into them. The second thing is clarity through communication. I think middle managers sit in that really unique but quite tough, complex position of being in the middle of an organisation, and they live in that space between strategy and execution, surrounded by information, data, perspectives, opinions, different priorities. So their influence comes from really being able to interpret what's happening in real time, and also the truth of what is happening, and telling a really clear, meaningful story. So they have that ability, and this is a skill set they must have, to translate numbers and data into insight, direction, action, and complexity ultimately into understanding. Because when people can see that bigger picture and understand their part to play in it, alignment strengthens and progress really accelerates. And then the final thing, I think, is building relationships at every level. Influence grows through connection and not control. Middle managers who invest time in understanding colleagues, strengthening cross-team collaboration, and maintaining strong links with senior leaders, that's what creates pathways for progress. So it's not about the hierarchy, because that can't be dictated by the role, but it's about the way you behave and the way you really lean in and prioritize those relationships, because it's those core relationships that really enable honest conversations, faster problem solving, and the shared ownership of those outcomes. So influence without formal authority is not about pushing harder. It's earned through trust and credibility, strengthened through clear communication, and really expanded through relationships across an organisation. And when middle managers lead in this way, they quietly but powerfully shape culture.
What I love about what Jeff and Lisa have shared is absolutely correct, and they're experts in this and they know this deeply, and there's no question there. It was more about just confirmation. And influence without authority starts with perspective and trust and relationships. And I want to add another layer that maybe some mid-level leaders may overlook or miss at times. Influence is not just about who you connect with or how you communicate. It's about how you position the work itself. Middle managers influence outcomes when they become the translator and the integrator of competing priorities. You're sitting in the middle of pressure from above, expectations from below, sideways demands from peers, colleagues, stakeholders. You don't win influence by pushing harder or lobbying louder. You win it by framing decisions in a way that makes progress inevitable. So that means you don't necessarily say, this is what leadership wants. You probably don't also say, this is what the team prefers. What you might say instead is, here's the trade-off that we're solving. Here's the risk of doing nothing. And here's the outcome we all care about. That's influence. Mid-level leaders or middle managers, they really gain traction when they consistently bring clarity to messy conversations, when they name constraints early, when they surface risks without the drama, and when they offer options rather than complaints. And we all know that, we all feel that, we've all lived that. This is where credibility really compounds. When people see that you as a mid-level leader understand the system and not just your slice of it, they start pulling you into conversations earlier. And that's influence. Your voice gets included before decisions are locked in. That's influence. It's influence without a title, and that's powerful. And here's the uncomfortable truth, right? Influence without authority requires emotional maturity, our emotional intelligence factor. You don't get to rely on power. You rely on judgment, self-control, and follow through. You stay steady when others get reactive. You don't personalize resistance. You see it as it in its context, and you keep the focus on outcomes rather than egos. So yes, I understand other people's motivations. Yes, build trust and relationships, but also learn to frame the work, name the tension, and hold the line on outcomes. That's how middle managers quietly shape decisions, direction, and culture, not by having more authority, but by becoming indispensable to progress.
You've just heard from 3 leaders who have dedicated their careers to strengthening the heartbeat of every organization, the middle. Jeff Sigel brings more than 2 decades across global food, grocery, and restaurant giants and a mission to build better workplaces from the inside out. He's a coach, author of The Middle Matters, helping leaders at every level increase their impact. From Cape Town, Robyn Wood is the middle manager coach. Her own leap into senior middle management sparked the confidence crisis that transformed her life and career. Today, she helps managers rebuild their confidence, sharpen their self-awareness, and thrive through GRIP Coaching's practical, high-impact development programs. Sally Foley-Lewis has spent over 20 years in the trenches and the boardroom, working with more than 20,000 managers across industries and continents. She's a global award-winning speaker, author, and educator who equips managers to be confident, capable, and courageous, and delivers the tools that lift performance fast. 3 experts, 1 shared passion, helping middle managers succeed where it matters most. Stay connected, keep developing, and keep leading from the middle.